Hello, awesome people. I hope you're having just an absolutely magnificent day today. Today we're going to be looking at H.P. Lovecraft's ghostwriter for Zealia Bishop's The Mound. He wrote over the December and February up through January of the next year. Really early on in the Cthulhu Mythos career and so forth. It's a novella. It's about 70 or so pages long. I read it for over 3 days for you folks. It's divided into 7 pages. 7 chapters of about 10 pages or so each. So I just knocked out the first 2 in the first couple of days in a little bit more than an hour, like an hour and a half roughly. And then I probably did the last one, all 3 chapters and so forth, more 2 hours. Approximating and so forth. So I knocked it out for the second time. I did read it in college when I was a junior and senior in high school. I found this stuff early on in the junior year as a publication of 3 collections of most of his work, Cthulhu Mythos in one, DreamWorks, Dreamlands and Fantasy in another one, and then his earlier non-Cthulhu Mythos stuff in a third. So I read those, and then I liked them, so I picked up a collection of his ghost writes and revisions and edits and stuff like that. And this was in that novel-sized 2-part. So I read it then back then when I was in college. I haven't read it since then, and so forth. I was reminded of it when I recently, how good some people really like this. When I went back and I read it, I read a top 10 of my Cthulhu Mythos Generation 1 short stories. That's from when it starts in Cthulhu Mythos era and the pulp era up through his death in 1937. Then a couple of years later, when August started off in 1940, when Maurice really starts to take over and publish these things. And that sort of a thing. And some folks mentioned that they really liked The Mound 2. I had posted one of his co-write revision kind of things called Winged Death, and it was and somebody said they prefer The Mound. And so I went back and read The Mound because I hadn't read it since then. I still prefer Winged Death. I still think it's better. It's the better short story, but it's fine. So if you recall, Cthulhu Mythos fans, this was not published in his lifetime. It was published in 1940, but it was a heavily abridged version in Weird Tales by August Derleth. So it wasn't published in its full form until 1989, and that's the version that I read when I was in college back in the 90s. And then also I went back and read just again for you folks, and I'll link it to you online too in case you're interested in checking it out. So that way you don't spend a whole lot of money for it and so forth. Now for Cthulhu Mythos fans, particularly Tsathoggua fans, this novella is actually pretty important because, Clark Ashton Smith had just introduced the character of Tsathoggua in his early era and so forth. And he had shown it, the tale of Tsathoggua to his friend Lovecraft, and Lovecraft loved it. He added it, Tsathoggua, to The Mound. But neither of them would be published for a few years. So that's pretty weird, and so forth. So actually, the first Tsathoggua short story would be published by Lovecraft actually, but it wasn't The Mound or Tsathoggua or the tale of Clark Ashton Smith who created it. And then so that's weird, and so forth. There you are. A little bit of history for you folks. Anyway, so The Mound, Zealia Bishop was interested in a ghostwriting short story that took place in a native Indian burial mound, kind of things that were very common at the time, as a headless ghost that walks at night, because of how creepy the idea was of having an at night from your local thing that's really creeping everybody out, and that sort of a thing. And so Lovecraft took that idea and turned it into a Cthulhu Mythos novella. He really went into a really interesting and bizarre thing. Now remember, no spoilers for my thing, so I'll be doing a deep dive into it. But our main character, and point of view character, is an Indian ethnologist. He's somebody who specializes in Indian lore culture and so forth, from the Native Americans and so forth. But he does use some antiquated terms and terminologies and so forth. And I just did that too, accidentally, because they're Native Americans. But I decided to leave it in there because I think it's actually appropriate, because that short story does have some antiquated thoughts and so forth in there, so forth. So just as a heads up, in case you're interested. But that is The Mound's core concept. And so basically he's coming is heard in chapter 1 about the mound with its headless ghost by night and headed ghost who walks by day, a male by day and a female by night, and he wants to arrive in the town of Bender. It's in Oklahoma. For you folks, he'll arrive. Chapter 2 is him hearing from his host all of the horror short stories and so forth that have happened over decades of exploration of the giant mound and so forth. And then on chapter 3, he'll go to the mound. He'll find in chapter 2, he'll go to the mound. He'll uncover a diary that's written by a Spanish explorer from the Cortez era, and since centuries ago, written in ancient at that time, modern Spanish. He'll have to interpret it and so forth. So he'll have that interpretation. So it's becomes writing for a few chapters, and then the last chapter is his journey back into the mound proper. So that's how the story structure is. Again, no spoilers and so forth. And please don't leave spoilers in 2. But I'm giving this an 8 out of 10. It's fun stuff. I definitely enjoyed it. Now, I'm a little biased because I'm somebody who lives right around mounds in West Virginia, right? We had a lot of mound builders in the town where I was living at South Charleston, and where I was also, going. There's a mound in the central area, right in downtown. It's a big park. You can walk up it, and it has some nice seatings and areas and nice breeze and so forth. There's also Moundsville, which is where the U.S. West Virginia State Penitentiary used to be run, which I visited, and it has a museum and so forth there. It's dedicated to the archaeological aspects of that mound too. So it is a key part of our culture. The mounds builders were a big part of early, Appalachian areas too. So I'm obviously going to be a little partial to a mound short story. There's also another reason why I'm a little biased to it too. It turns into basically a hollow world. Basically, what's happening in the central area is hollow worlds. He's not spelled out as hollow worlds. They're Cthulhu Mythos worshippers and that sort of a thing, right? And Mythos is obviously going to have a lot of dark stuff in it. But ultimately, it's a hollow world. And you guys know how much I like my hollow world stuff from like Edgar Rice Burroughs' at the world or score. So it's not written like it, but it is. It's a hollow world story. So there you are. And that's obviously going to have a higher influence on me too. But I'm giving it an 8. When I read it, I thought it was okay the first time. I didn't remember it much and thought it was just okay. The second time, it's really more of a 9. It struck me, an 8 rather, and it struck me more. So that's my thoughts on Zealia Bishop's and H.P. Lovecraft's ghostwritten form, The Mound for you folks, which wasn't published in its entirety until 1989, just a short period of time ago. So what did you think? Did you agree or disagree with my thoughts, and have you read it too? So what did you think about it too? If you like this, why not hit the subscribe button, the like button, the bell icon if you're feeling frisky, and then let your Hollow World or Grace Burroughs or H.P. Lovecraft or Tsathoggua or Zealia Bishop fans or just anything, right? Friends know about it too. And then finally, I just want to pause and thank you so much just for taking some time out of your day and investing it in watching my video, right? Because we all have so many things that are happening in our lives, and we're pulled in so many different directions. So the fact that you spend this time with me, that's incredibly humbling, and I appreciate that much. So once again, have a great day and thanks.